Chronicles of Captivity. And this is Chronicle number 42. 42. So, in Chronicle number 41, I told you about how I got away from Ferriton, the administrative prisoner witness prison there. I escaped there and got over the fence and got out into the woods and got across the road, the highway or secondary road, and now I got out into the swamp area. And then the next day, I had hit these trails, and it just kept walking and walking until I came up on this house where I found the magic carpet ride. This Crown Vic, white, looked just like a cop car. And 3/4 of a tank full of gas. I mean, you know, the M&Ms, the map, the everything, the money in the little ashtray. So, you know, I stopped at a bar. I had a couple of drafts, and I just got on the highway. And I thought, well, okay, I either go, I'm trying to see my son. I'm trying to get my son. And I'm thinking, man, I can either go, you know, I should go into New York City, because people had said New York City was a place where you could just get lost. It's like a country unto itself. I've never been to New York City. Close I came was when I drove up with the Crown Vic to a gas station just this side of the Lincoln Tunnel and parked there for a minute, just debating whether to go on through. That one decision right there, too, I mean, it would have changed the entire trajectory of everything. Because what I was thinking was, man, I don't know what the toll is exactly, but I know it's going to be a few bucks, and I might not have enough to cover it. I was unfamiliar with the toll thing. I didn't know that you could just pass through, and hell, it's a stolen vehicle. Are they going to send me a bill? I didn't know that, though. I had no idea. So I'm sitting there and I'm debating. I debated it quite a while, actually, because I knew that if I just went to where Johnny was, that's where the U.S. Marshals, FBI, everybody would be looking. That's the first place that they would really go to, because they knew I wanted to go home, you know, and they're going to figure, yeah, he's, and statistically, I think it's true that most people, when they escape, just go back to familiar places. But yeah, I wanted to make contact with him. But I went to Norwich, the place where I was actually born and partially raised up until the time I was about, I think, 6 or 7. I lived in Norwich. And yeah, so that's where I went, because I remembered that my aunt on my mother's side of the family, one of my aunts had a cabin up on this reservoir, and I didn't know at the time. I thought she might still even be there, but it was up for sale and she wasn't there, so it was just vacant. So I stayed there for a little while, and I just parked the car. You know, it was a May day. It was beautiful. It was like, man, I just wanted to go in the water. But all of those houses and cabins are so jammed up close together that I didn't, you know, I just went inside and I didn't want to show my face. It was easy to get in. The back door was open. So it was like, okay, boom. There was nothing much in there. Some cans of food. Old pair of painters, white pants, telephone that actually worked, though. So I did make the mistake of like calling my mom. I mean, I did really everything. For a guy, if you're trying to get away from prison and stay away from prison and stay free and just be a fugitive, I did every single thing that I could do wrong. I just wanted to get with my family, be with my family, see my son, you know, just, I don't know. that idea, I had put so much into it that to be deprived of it was just, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. So, here I am now. I've got this ride. I stop in Norwich. I stop at this motel downtown. Used to be a Howard Johnson's, nice one back in the day. Now it's something else, and I just parked in the parking lot. I didn't have the money to go rent a room. I wish I had have had a spot where I could, hang out for a few days, maybe a week or two, and just get my head together. But so now I just make a bunch of mistakes. I don't want to number them 1, 2, 3, 4. There's too many of them. But I decide that I'm going to go to Syracuse and that I'm going to get these other people who, such a long story. My dad was married to my mom for a long time. They got divorced. My dad went with this other woman he met at church and got married to her. Okay, she already had 3 daughters, and then she had a daughter by him. So I had a half sister, and I knew the other daughters, and I had corresponded with them while I was in prison and stuff to some degree. So, I knew them. They were friends, close friends. So I thought they might help me to get to Johnny, right? So I went to their house in Bridgeport, New York, upstate. And that's when, I was just parked on the side of the road because nobody was at home. I went out, knocked on the door, walked across the yard, nobody there. I got back in the car, I sat down. I'm just parked there, just waiting, just kicking back, enjoying being free, just enjoying the neighborhood, right? And I see this old woman right here across the street. The grass kind of tall in her front yard, and I see her drag this hand mower, this Briggs and Stratton or Snap or whatever it was. It's one of those that you pull, and then push around. She comes dragging it out of her garage, and she drags it a few feet into the front yard. And then she bends over and she tries to get it started. And the woman's like 74 years old. She's frail. She's very weak. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, why not? Boom. I get out of the car. I go up across the front yard and I say, excuse me, ma'am, are you trying to get your mower started? Are you going to mow this lawn here? And she's like, yes, it's got to be mowed. I'm going to have to mow it. But I can't get this started. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I go ahead and help you get it started, and I'll go ahead and mow it for you, because I'm just waiting for my family to come home, and I'm just hanging out, I'm not doing anything anyway, so let me mow it for you. And she was tickled. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds great. I need this front area mowed. You see how long it is. So I just took off my shirt. I got it started up. And I just went around mowing along. So then I get the whole front yard done. Turn the mower off, push it into the garage. And she comes out. And she says, oh, by the way, do you think you could do the sides and the back, way down in the back behind the house? She said, I've got a riding mower here that you could do that with if you want to. So I was like, yeah, okay, why not? So I'm mowing the whole backyard and the side and everything. And then when I was done, it took a couple hours. When I was done, she and I went up on her back little porch area, and she had these cold sodas. So I think I drank 2 root beers, those really inexpensive ones. But I got to know something about the woman. We sat and we talked, and she had been having a lot of problems with diabetes. She had lost many, if I don't know how many toes she had left, but she had lost her toes and pieces of her feet to diabetes. So she had them all bandaged very tightly and was, she was in a lot of pain and a lot of misery from that. And, we didn't really get into anything about, I just told her I was waiting for, I didn't have all the tattoos and everything at the time. I was just clean cut. And I told her, I was waiting for my Tamara and, her sisters or the mom to get home, and, that we were a family, and I was coming up from New Jersey to visit, and blah, 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 blah. So I go back to the car. I go back to their house, knock again. It's 4:30 or 5. Nobody's there again. Or nobody's answering. I don't know. So I get back in the car. I go down to this, I think it was like a little shopping, like a little strip mall, just down Route 31 and to the right. So I go in this little supermarket and I walk around. I think I got a bottle of beer, bottle of Budweiser or something. I think I drank it actually in the store. I'm not positive, but I think I drank it in the store and just left the bottle in the store. But unbeknownst to me, my father's second wife, the one that gave birth to my half-sister Tamara, actually worked there. And she was working there while I was there. I didn't even know it. But somehow everything got crossed. And I'm driving down 31. I'm coming back. And I see a state police car coming the other way. So I'm coming one way, state police car, we just pass. And there's a hill in back of me, and I see his lights, his brake lights go on. So I gun it. I floor it. I take the first right, which I didn't know where I was. I didn't know that area very well, Bridgeport. But there's a lake, Lake Oneida, that goes around the area. And I turned that right down a narrow road that led right straight to the lake. It's just lake houses and cottages and everything down there. So I was essentially trapped. I just pulled the car around, and it was like a big drive at the end, like a big dead end, but there were drives going off of that. So I just wheeled it around. I got out, I ran into the woods. I ran back across behind the car I was driving. There wasn't anybody there right then when I did all that. I ran out, ran back. I think he probably went down the road a ways. But when I ran back and ran across, I ran about 400 yards. And here was this cottage, this little gray cottage. And in the driveway, there was a Bronco. And in the Bronco, the keys were in it. So I jump in this Bronco right away. Boom, start up. This dude, this biker dude, he was working on his bike in his garage, right? He comes running out to the truck. Hey, stop. I got it in reverse. I'm just gunning it, tearing up lawn. I just take off, right? I back up a good ways to get away from him, then I just turn and take off. But instead of taking that on down the road, like 4, 5, 6 miles, I make another mistake. Big mistake. I just drive it up maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile up the road. I didn't even take it on the main road. And I just left it off to the side. I ran it like off to the side and just left it there. Just left it. Banning it. Took off on foot again. I'm still right there on the same side. I'm still boxed in by Oneida Lake. And it's on my right. So I know I've got to get over to the other side. But by now, they've got troops coming in. They've got a fucking helicopter. As soon as I left the Bronco and ran back toward this little wooded area that was all flooded, and ran into the water there. There was a helicopter establishing a perimeter right there, sheriff's helicopter. So I went around through these trees. These trees, they, this, I wouldn't call it a forest or woods, but it was a copse of trees that went all along, Lake Oneida or Oneida Lake, and then it intersected the road right there with like a little narrow strip. And then on the other side of the road was another narrow strip. So that's where I crossed the road. And I just made a beeline. There were lights all over the place, units coming in, the helicopter was circling. Now, as soon as I got to the other side, there's another helicopter that's coming. And so, I'll have to tell you about it in the next Chronicle. Chronicle number 42, I believe.